What's up guys, this is Chris here, and today we're going to be talking about the only 5 guns you actually need. We're going to go over what 5 guns I think would be best for the everyday person to kind of cover every single base you could possibly cover. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to get the 5 best guns for every situation you could run into, all for the least amount of money possible. That's kind of the goal for this video. Along with that, we're going to kind of make a little bit of a departure from the standard video I think that a lot of people do over this particular category. We judge these by their overall usage, plus their track record, reliability, accuracy, and how they did in our reviews. Before we do that, I want to mention my Patreon supporters. Thank you guys very much. It's because of you guys we have all the guns on the channel. I appreciate that. If you want to support the channel, it's the best way to do it. Also in the description is a link to a local shelter in Ames, Iowa. It's the YSS. It could really use your help, so please go down and click that link and donate to those kids. Now, we'll get into it with number 5 here, which what I would consider might be one of the controversial picks, and it's not going to be the fact that I chose a 22 rifle. It's going to be the fact of which 22 I chose. I think a 22 is a staple in a person's gun collection for a reason. A 22 is usable for not only small game, large game. You can use it for range defense if needed, but I think it's the best case scenario for learning marksmanship, teaching people at a young age, and just going out and having fun plinking. The 22 long rifle is very accurate, very cheap, very low recoil. So it's usable for all those things and also really fun to shoot as well. Now, a lot of people go with the Ruger 1022, and I think that probably would be best for most people. That being said, for me personally, I'm gonna go with the gun I learned to shoot on, and that is the Henry Golden Boy lever action 22 rifle. And I think there's actually a lot of practical applications that make the Henry better than the Ruger. The first thing is it looks very, very cool, and it's a good way to get into a lever action. The gun looks amazing, it's unbelievably beautiful, and it's relatively cheap, coming in between $500 and $1,000. Not only is it cheap and looks great, but the lever action itself makes you kind of conserve ammo a little bit and makes you a little bit more of a marksman, and helps younger and newer shooters learn how to make each shot count before they pull the next trigger pull. So with a semi-automatic, a lot of times you'll have kids or newer shooters just starting to pile off rounds really quick, which is great and fun, but you kind of miss out on the marksmanship fundamentals that a lever action can deliver you. So conserving ammo, making the range trip last longer, and getting better all at the same time, while simultaneously fulfilling all of your cowboy fantasies as well, which I like to do with my lever actions. I like to pretend I'm John Wayne and go out there and flip that bitch around and shoot all day. And you can do all those things with the Golden Boy. On top of that, it's going to be legal in every state as well, unlike the Ruger 1022. If you're still not convinced, the Golden Boy has a phenomenal single action trigger. Because of the way that the lever action works, every time you fire the gun, it's going to cock the hammer back, and you're going to have that amazing single action trigger pull, which allows for some pretty extreme accuracy, 0 to 100 yards, which is basically what you're going to be using an open sight gun for. I have never had any problem shooting squirrels, rabbits, rats, anything like that with this. It's great for pest control, small game, and on top of that, it's not finicky with ammunition either, like a semi-automatic for the most part, because you manually operate the action. So shorter, lower recoiled rounds or higher end, high velocity stuff, all is going to work just fine. At least it has in mine. Now, the only downside of the Henry is that you got to load it from the top, the loading port. That being said, it's still a badass rifle, and I love it a lot. In at number 4, another gun I think everybody's gonna need is obviously gonna be a shotgun. But what shotgun? What shotgun should you pick? For the longest time, people have been comparing the Mossberg 500 to the Remington 870, and sadly, they're just no longer a comparison. In modern day, with modern manufacturing, Mossberg has surpassed Remington in almost every way. From ergonomics to reliability to quality control to overall durability, track record, everything kind of leans in Mossberg's favor at this point, at least by my personal opinion. So the gun I'm gonna recommend is gonna be the Mossberg 500 or even the Mossberg Maverick series. You can get into a semi-automatic shotgun like the Benellis, the Super Vinci's. They're going to be very expensive, and they're going to do almost the exact same thing for most people. On top of that, a pump action shotgun is not only going to introduce a new battery of arms, which can be kind of fun, but it also is more reliable with different types of ammunition. You can shoot anything from non-lethal, very low recoil shells to low recoil buckshot, all the way up to slugs. You can shoot dragon's breath through it if you want to. You can shoot whatever you want through a pump shotgun. And I believe the Mossberg is the best version of that due to the price, the money, the durability, the track record, and overall parts accessibility. So you can take one Mossberg shotgun and you could put an 18-inch barrel on it, you could put a 26-inch barrel on it for duck hunting if you so choose, you could put a slug barrel on it if you want to use slugs for deer season. Hell, you could even get a pistol or a other firearm variation like this Mossberg Shockwave here, and you could use it for a point and shoot home defense gun. You could stick it under a seat of a plane if you need to go fly around your single engine Cessna in Alaska, if you want to go bear hunting or something like that. We just watched The Edge last night, so I got it on the brain. But overall, I think that the Mossberg pump action shotgun is by far superior. It's available in every gun shop. I think you could use it for home defense. I think smaller and intermediate shooters would benefit from as well. On top of that, it just doesn't come in 12 gauge, which is the most available caliber, but it also comes in 20, 410, 28 gauge, whatever gauge you want. Get the appropriate size of shell for the appropriate size of shooter. The Mossberg 500 also benefits from the unbelievable amount of testing that the military and law enforcement has done to it over the years. It's actually one of the most reliable and durable time-tested guns on the planet, let alone shotguns. So I think if you're looking for a very versatile long gun, the Mossberg 500 is really tough to beat. All right, in at number 3, we are gonna have a large semi-automatic 9mm pistol. Now I'm gonna keep it kind of vague, and I'm gonna give you my choice, and I'm gonna give you the choice I think most people will give you. Most people are gonna say Glock 19, Glock 17 here, and I respect that, I do. I think that they have good magazine compatibility. I think they're classically durable and reliable. I think they're robust and time-tested. But I also believe that there are better options for the same price. And I believe that that option is the Walther PDP, or maybe even the Canik series. Now I prefer the PDP simply because I generally err on the side of German instead of Turkish. I find the PDP is very reliable. We have 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 rounds on each one of our PDPs. We own 4 of them at this point. And this one in specific is my Carry Optics gun that I actually can sort of kind of compete with 2011s and stuff like that, because the trigger on the PDP is so shockingly good by comparison to other striker fired guns, because it is a P99 copy along with the Canik and VP9. You can also go with the VP9 if you want to pay for the name. I personally like Walther because you get the best quality for price ratio. The PDP not only has a phenomenal trigger by comparison to Glock, but it also has better texture out of the box. It has better accessories, it has a mounting system for the optics that I like a lot, and on top of that, it has a phenomenal grip. Not only has good texture, but it has back straps available as well. You can't tell because this is my competition gun that I have silicone carbided. You can put mag wells on these guns. You can get 5-inch guns, 4-inch guns, 4.5. You can get compacts. Hell, you can even get a small grip size if you have small hands, if you so choose. The Walther PDP is very versatile, very reliable, very accurate, and a large 9mm pistol like this can be used for home defense, concealed carry if you want, because it's still large, but it's very, very lightweight, coming in only about 28 ounces, very lightweight for a full-size gun. You get that 5-inch barrel, so you can added velocity on that 9mm cartridge. You get better expansion, better penetration, and you can use it, again, for home defense, concealed carry, for a WROL situation. This would be a great gun for maybe getting out of a city in case you had a riot or something like that, which is a very realistic application today. I usually prefer a big handgun for something like that because you can use the whole gray man aspect. You're carrying around a rifle, people know you're carrying around a rifle. If you carry around this, you can conceal it, and you still have the advantage of surprise, which I like a lot. So a lot of applications for a pistol. Another great application for home defense pistol would be, I mean, honestly, if you get a big knock on the door in the middle of the night, half the time it's a robber, half the time it's the cops. So sometimes you don't want to show up to the door with a rifle, and sometimes it's better to have a handgun that you could quickly put away just in case there's an officer at your door saying maybe there's a fugitive loose, or maybe something was robbed from your neighbor. There's a lot of reasons why you would want a concealable gun that's still very, very capable, and for that, I think the PDP, the 4.5 or the 5-inch is probably the best choice. That being said, you can go with Glock 17, you can go with the M&P full size, you can go with the VP9, or you can even go with the Canik. Those are my personal favorites, but at the end of the day, if I had to pick one, it's gonna be this guy. In at number 2, and no surprise, is gonna be a rifle. At the end of the day, every American's a rifleman, and they should have a rifle. And the best rifle for the job, whether you like it or not, is the AR-15. This is an IWI AR-15, which I believe is one of the better ones for the money, but it's just kind of standing in for any really good AR-15. Honestly, if you had a Smith & Wesson Sport, if you got a Radical Firearms, if you got a BCM, Daniel Defense, anything like that, it's going to be really good to go. The higher end you are, usually the better you get, but that's not always the case. A SIG rifle or even a Springfield, if you get a good one, is going to be good as well. The important thing is that you do have an AR-15. I like a 14.5 or a 16-inch if you're only going to have one, because it's very versatile from CQB all the way out to 5 or 6 or even 700 yards in some cases, depending on how accurate your shooting is. The AR-15 is a direct impingement semi-automatic rifle, so it has very, very low recoil. It's great for new shooters. It really is. Anytime you get a small statured person, a child, a girl shooting this, they immediately forget everything CNN told them. It's an amazingly soft shooting rifle that's very accurate and very easy to shoot. Rifles are more easy to shoot than handguns due to all the points of contact. They're also about 6 pounds with a 2-pound trigger instead of a 1-pound gun with like a 5 or 6 pound trigger. Overall, rifles are going to be not only more ballistically capable, in fact about triple, but they are going to be easier to hit your intended target as well. Now, the AR-15 is going to be the best home defense weapon in my personal opinion, but it also is going to be good for without rule of law situations, or maybe if your state decides it's going to not detain people anymore for things like second-degree murder, or I don't know, kidnapping, or maybe Grand Theft Auto, like the state that isn't next to us. If you live in Illinois, you might want to get one of these. The AR-15 also has some of the best and most ergonomic controls as far as semi-automatic rifles go. It fires an intermediate cartridge, which is great up close and great against unarmored opponents, which is what most civilians are going to be running into, while simultaneously, again, being very low recoil and fast follow-up shots in case you miss. Now, one of the downsides and one of the upsides to the AR-15 is going to be its current track record in law enforcement and military, which is great, but its track record in the media is not so good. It's considered the scary rifle, and I actually think that's kind of important for home defense for me personally, because if somebody breaks in my house, I want them scared. I want them to be afraid that I have this, so I don't have to shoot and they just leave. That is the ideal situation for me personally, and an AR-15 not only brings that incredible capability, but it brings that intimidation factor that I'm looking for. And lastly, the gun that I think every capable American needs, I believe they should have a concealed carry pistol. I believe it should be small and it should be lightweight. Now, I vary a little bit from a lot of tactical trainers and things like that, because most people say the bigger gun the better, but I like to have a bigger handgun for certain things, and I like to have a smaller handgun for other things. And for all day concealed carry, for me personally, it's difficult to carry a full-size gun all summer long, no matter what I'm wearing, all that stuff. So I like to have a summer carry gun. I like to have a lightweight carry gun for those situations like when you're running, or maybe you're taking a walk in the wilderness, or maybe you just like to be comfortable throughout the day. I think the new micro 9mm platform that SIG created, the P365 series, I believe is honestly still the king of that category. I think with a gun like this, you get a very small, very lightweight gun. This is a 3-inch gun that's sub 20 ounces, and it carries a 10 or 12 round magazine capacity. That's hard to beat, guys. Like, honestly, this is so light and so small, I can wear basketball shorts and I can kind of just shove the holster in my basketball shorts and it still works. That tells you how light it is. And you still get a very shootable gun out to 100 yards. On the channel, I've shot this gun out to 100 yards multiple times. You get very quick follow-up shots up close while still having a very capable caliber with a capacity that can handle almost anything you need. The reason why I think a carry gun is the most important gun to have is simply because still, at least to this point, we live in a civilized society. And in a civilized society, it's always better to have the art of surprise, and it's better to have a concealed handgun, in my personal opinion. A lot of times when people open carry, that's great, but in my opinion, you're kind of asking for somebody to just grab your gun and shoot you with it. So with a small, light, concealed carry gun, I think not only you have the element of surprise, but you still have the same capacity and capability that you would with a full-size gun. The P365 is one of those guns like the Glock 19 was 20 years ago. They got a whole brand new generation of people into concealed carry. Now, that doesn't mean the P365 is the only game in town. There's also the Shield Plus, which I probably prefer, but the reality is that this is smaller and lighter and easy to carry. It's the most popular gun of 2022, and I think for its size to weight ratio, still to this day, this is probably the best carry gun ever made. Pair this with a bigger home defense gun when you get home, or just throw a light on this and use this for home defense gun. Since it is a 9mm caliber, you could put a slightly higher capacity magazine on there, a TLR sub on there, and you could have a very capable home defense and full-size gun as well if you so choose. Also, the P365, the reason why it really wins out is because it also has a fire control module in it that you could then use different frames and make different guns out of this, especially if you are in a state where another gun is hard to get. For example, if you can only buy a couple guns a year, you could get this and then you could make a whole bunch of guns with it. So I think that's pretty amazing. Along with that, there's a whole bunch of different variations of the P365. The Spectre Comp is my personal favorite and my personal new carry gun, and I think that really is the pinnacle of the micro 9mm. We have 1,000-round reviews of all these guns if you want to check them out. I would recommend some diversity in your 5 guns, and I think these 5 will cover everything. That being said, we didn't really get into the precision rifle long range game, but I think with the proper AR-15, especially considering you can change calibers into maybe a 6mm arc, you can easily reach out to 1,000 yards with the AR platform. So I think I kind of covered everything, but I'd like to see your list because obviously there's so many different variations, so many different guns you could choose from today. So please comment down below. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Please help out your local homeless shelters and remember to recycle. I'll check you later.